A new executive is hired to take over a struggling business unit. During the handover meeting, the previous executive gives the newbie 3 numbered envelopes with the recommendation to open them when things go poorly. After 2 quarters, profits don't improve, and the new executive starts to feel significant pressure from his boss. Remembering the 3 envelopes, he opens the first one and reads the message, "Blame your predecessor." He dutifully explains to his boss the previous executive had left a bigger mess than expected and it will take a bit longer to fix things. But everything is under control. Satisfied with the explanation, the boss turns his attention elsewhere. A few quarters later, the business unit is still missing its financial projections. Having learned from the previous experience, the executive consults the second envelope, which contains the message, "Reorganize." The executive makes a number of critically needed changes and doubles efforts on core strengths. Financial results seemingly improve. Less than 2 years after taking over the business unit, the executive finds himself in another crisis. Out of ideas, the executive goes to his office, closes the door, and opens the third envelope. The message says, "Prepare 3 envelopes." A man and his wife are pulled over by a police officer. The officer walks up to the man's window and says,
"Sir, you were going 60 in a 45.
The man says, "I was only going 55. His wife hits him in the arm and says,
"No, you were going 65.
He gives her a very dirty look. The officer continues,
"I'm also going to have to give you a ticket for a broken taillight."
The man says, "Broken taillight? I had no idea." His wife hits him in the arm again and says,
What? I've been telling you to get it fixed for weeks.
The man yells, "Will you be quiet?" The officer looks at his wife and asks,
"Ma'am, does he always talk to you that way?"
The man's wife shrugs and says,
Only when he drinks.
A cat dies and goes to heaven. God meets him at the gates of heaven and says,
You have been a good cat all of these years. Anything you desire is yours. All you have to do is ask.
The cat says,
Well, I lived all my life with a poor family on a farm and had to sleep on hardwood floors.
God says,
Say no more.
Instantly, a fluffy pillow appears. A few days later, 6 mice die and go to heaven. God meets them at the gates with the same offer that he made the cat. The mice say,
All our lives we've had to run. Cats, dogs, and even women with brooms have chased us. If we could only have a pair of roller skates, we wouldn't have to run anymore.
God says,
Say no more.
Instantly, each mouse is fitted with a beautiful pair of tiny roller skates. About a week later, God decides to check and see how the cat is doing. The cat is sound asleep on his new pillow. God gently wakes him and asks,
How are you doing? Are you happy here?
The cat yawns, stretches, and says,
Oh, I've never been happier. And those Meals on Wheels you've been sending over are the best.
Jack decided to go skiing with his best buddy Bob. So they loaded up Jack's minivan and headed north. After driving for a few hours, they got caught in a terrible blizzard. They pulled into a nearby farm and asked the attractive lady who answered the door if they could spend the night.
I realize it's terrible weather out there, and I have this huge house all to myself, but I'm recently widowed.
She explained.
I'm afraid the neighbors will talk if I let you stay in my house.
Don't worry, Jack said. We'll be happy to sleep in the barn. And if the weather breaks, we'll be gone at first light. The lady agreed, and the 2 men found their way to the barn and settled in for the night. Come morning, the weather had cleared, and they got on their way. They enjoyed a great weekend of skiing. But about 9 months later, Jack got an unexpected letter from an attorney. It took him a few minutes to figure it out, but he finally determined that it was from the attorney of that attractive widow that he had met on the ski weekend. He dropped in on his friend Bob and asked, "Bob, you remember that good-looking widow from the farm we stayed at on our ski holiday up north about 9 months ago?"
Yeah, I do,
said Bob. "Did you happen to get up in the middle of the night, go up to the house and pay her a visit?"
Well, yes,
Bob said, a little embarrassed about being found out. "And did you happen to give her my name instead of telling her your name?" Bob's face turned beet red and he said,
Yeah, look, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm afraid I did.
"Why do you ask?" Jack replied, "She just died and left me everything." Dave was bragging to his boss one day. "You know, I know everyone there is to know. Just name someone, anyone, and I know them." His boss was tired of hearing him boast and decides to call his bluff.
Okay, Dave, how about Elon Musk?
"Oh, Elon and me go way back, and I can prove it." So Dave and his boss fly out to California and knock on Elon Musk's door, and Elon shouts, "Dave, what's happening? Great to see you, come on in for a beer." Although impressed, Dave's boss is still skeptical. After they leave Musk's house, he tells Dave that he thinks him knowing Elon was just lucky. No, just name anyone else," Dave says.
Bill Gates.
His boss quickly replies. "Yep," Dave says, "Bill and I are old buddies. Let's fly out to Washington." And off they go. At the Microsoft offices, Bill Gates spots Dave and motions him and his boss over. "Dave, what a surprise. I was just on my way to a meeting, but come on in with your friend. Let's have a beer first and catch up." Well, the boss is very shaken by now, but still not totally convinced. After they leave the Microsoft offices, he expresses his doubts to Dave, who again asks him to name anyone else.
Pope.
His boss replies. "Sure," says Dave. "I've known the Pope for years." So they fly off to Rome. Dave and his boss are assembled with the masses at the Vatican's St. Peter's Square when Dave says, "Oh, this will never work. I can't catch the Pope's eye among all these people. Tell you what, I know all the guards, so let me just go upstairs and I'll come out on the balcony with the Pope." He disappears into the crowd headed towards the Vatican. Sure enough, half an hour later, Dave emerges with the Pope on the balcony. But by the time Dave returns, he finds that his boss has had a heart attack and is surrounded by paramedics. Making his way to his boss's side, Dave asks him, "What happened?" His boss looks up and says,
That was the final straw. You and the Pope come out on the balcony, and the man next to me said, "Who the hell is that on the balcony with Dave?"
It's the middle of the night, and Laura wakes up to find that her husband is out of bed. She dresses in her robe and goes downstairs to find him sitting in front of a turned-off TV, holding up a cup of coffee and looking into the distance, lost in some sad thought.
What's the matter, honey?
She asks.
Why the heck are you down here at this hour?
Her husband looks up at her and says,
Do you remember when we started dating? When you were just 17?
Sure,
she answers, puzzled. Her husband groaned in sadness.
And do you remember when your father, the sheriff, caught us fooling around?
Yes, of course.
And do you remember how he shoved his shotgun in my face and said, "You either marry her or I'll put you in jail for 20 years?
Yeah, I do. Why are you so nostalgic all of a sudden?
She demanded to know. The husband wiped a tear from his cheek and said,
It's just that I would have been out today.